usually do a WrestleMania review video. I'm not going to bother with that this year because honestly, I really don't see a point. We talked about Mania on QCW Radio this week, so you can download that episode now on angrymarks.com if you want to hear my thoughts on it. I'm just going to keep this short. Basically, the first 3.5 hours of WrestleMania were B pay-per-view level in my opinion. Disagree with me all you want, that's the way I feel. Some of the matches sucked. Some of the matches could have been WrestleMania quality if they'd been longer or booked differently, but they weren't. Well, I mean, Cena Batista was alright, I guess, but WWE did not deliver on any of those other matches, so fuck all that stuff. Let's talk about Shawn and Taker, because that's what I want to talk about. Shawn and Taker was amazing. Unbelievable, fantastic. I don't know if it was possible for them to top their match last year, but they did everything they possibly could. Like using different psychology with Taker's injured leg and stuff. And even when Shawn did the moonsault to the announce table and he landed on Taker's legs that he'd been selling the entire match, I was, like the facial expressions and then like a throat slash at the end. Oh man. I loved every second of that match. I really did. And I'm so happy that they got the main event because nothing else on that card was even going to touch that match. And judging by the crowd, that was the one match that everybody was waiting for all night to see. And you know, I'm not ashamed to say this. I got a little choked up at the end. I mean, maybe it's corny. You know, you can say that if you want to, but it's Shawn Michaels. You know, one of the greatest of all time. And the send-off that he got here and on Raw the next night was so perfect. It was like the send-off that Ric Flair got before Ric fucked it all up. I mean, it's such a rare thing that we get to see one of our heroes go out in a blaze of glory like that. And you know what? If Shawn is really serious about hanging up his boots, then my wish for him is that he never wrestles again. Because he's never going to get a better send-off than that. And I don't want Shawn Michaels to be one of these guys who shits on their legacy by coming back to the ring again and again and again for years afterward. I don't want Shawn's last match to be remembered as some crappy tag match on free TV like Ric Flair currently is. I mean, I want Shawn Michaels to go out as Mr. WrestleMania. So, we'll see what happens with that in the future. But in the meantime, I'd just like to say thank you, Shawn Michaels, for all the memories, for all the great matches. And I'll just go ahead and pretend that Little People's Court thing never happened. Alright, I'm going to cover a couple of news items here real quick before I get to the show. Apparently, Consequences Creed has been released. Not really surprising. It's kind of a shame, though. I mean, I always thought they could have done a lot more with him. I mean, he was a talented guy. I mean, yeah, he needed a new gimmick like you wouldn't believe, but, I mean, he had all the tools to be a star, so that's the bad news. But, the good news is that the Nasty Boys have been released. Thank God. You know, they're tight with Hogan, so I don't know why or how this happened exactly, and I don't care. Knobs and Sags, go fuck yourselves. Go off, do whatever the hell you want, just stay out of TNA and never darken my TV screen again. Now, something else. I need to reiterate my point about the Orlando Jordan character, because a bunch of people have asked me about this. Let me be clear on something, okay? I am not homophobic. If you're gay, bisexual, transsexual, straight, however you choose to live your life, that's fine. It doesn't bother me. What bothers me is that TNA is taking bisexuality, which is a really sensitive issue for a lot of people, and they're using it as a way to get cheap heat. And the whole thing is completely pointless in the first place, because that cheap heat is for this idiot, no talent loser. I don't see it working at all. It's probably just going to end up pissing a lot of people off. I mean, the whole thing just feels like cheap exploitation to me. I find it kind of offensive, and I refuse to watch it. So I can't and I won't review the Orlando Jordan segment from Impact this week because I didn't watch it. I switched over to Raw when that shit came on. Just like I did during the Bubba the Love Sponge promo, so I won't be talking about that either. So I'll just talk about the stuff I did watch. Some pretty strange booking throughout the show. The Pope, I thought, cut a hell of a promo on AJ Styles. Really came off like a star. And then he jobbed to Desmond Wolfe, which killed all his heat. I'm not going to complain about Desmond Wolfe picking up a win, but at the same point, it's probably not the smartest thing in the world to be jobbing out the Pope right now, since he's an untested main eventer who needs all the momentum he can get before he headlines one of your biggest pay-per-views in a few weeks. I mean, if he's going to lose the match, fine, but it should be because of something AJ did. Also, we had a nice X Division tag match. The match itself was just fine, but for some reason, all the focus was on Shannon Moore and Doug Williams, and Kazarian was kind of an afterthought, which really doesn't make sense since Kazarian's the one getting the title shot of Lockdown. Then we had the Kurt Angle Ken Anderson segment. Now, the segment itself was terrific, I thought. I mean, two really great promos from these guys. Ken Anderson is so entertaining right now. I can't say enough about him. I mean, that guy is money, and WWE really missed the boat with him. Anyway, this and the Pope's promo were the two best things about the show. Problem is, they're having a ladder match next week. Now, between TNA and WWE, this is going to be like the third ladder match in the last 3 weeks. Now, is this wise? Is it really a good idea for these guys to be having a ladder match just a few weeks before you want people to pay to see them in a cage match? I mean, do you ever hear less is more, TNA? Come on. Now, a positive to take away from this is that they actually announced the match a week in advance, and they hyped it up like it was a really big deal, which is leaps and bounds ahead of what they usually do. I mean, ordinarily, they would just advertise it. They just like wouldn't advertise it or even announce the match at all. They just throw it on the show next week and be like, "Hey fans, look, we're having a ladder match and it starts right now. Woohoo!" You know, at least if you do it this way, you build some anticipation and the match might actually have a chance to draw for you. I still think it's stupid that they're even doing the match in the first place, but this is at least better than not announcing it at all. But while we're talking about stupid booking, I would like to know what brain surgeon on the creative team thought it was a good idea to put the band in a main event cage match, and then I would like to know what Eric Bischoff was smoking when he said, "Yeah, that sounds good, let's do that." Okay, not only that, but you put Jeff Hardy and Rob Van Dam in this match, and then you book Nash, Hall, and Waltman to be on the offense the entire time. Do I even have to point out what's wrong with this? As for the match, well, judging by the ratings, not too many people bothered to watch it. Hell, I'm reviewing the show and I didn't watch it. I was watching the Shawn Michaels goodbye. You know, I had to check the match. I had to check out the match online the next day. And in case you're wondering, it was every bit as horrible as you might think. The Eric Young spot at the end was cool, and the right team won at least. But the band just sleepwalked through this match, just as you'd think they would. I mean, they completely stunk up the place, and the whole segment was a big flop. And this, that's right, this is what TNA put on against Shawn Michaels' retirement speech. Nice one, TNA. Hey, remind me, what was the rating again this week? 0.6? Gosh, I wonder how that happened. Anyway, Samoa Joe resurfaced finally. They showed some creepy looking video that looked like one of those Joker videos from The Dark Knight. You know, that was interesting. You know, hopefully he'll be back on TV soon because they were stupid as hell to take him off TV in the first place. Jay Lethal's back after being on the shelf for a couple of months. Unfortunately, he's still playing this intolerable Black Machismo character. I swear to God, this gimmick just won't die. But at least they're doing something with him now. You know, I read a rumor that he might be in Lethal Lockdown this year, so I guess we don't have to worry too much about him being future endeavored like his tag partner. I do feel bad for Beer Money, though. I mean, those guys are just not where they should be at all right now. I mean, TNA really needs to work on that. Anyway, I think that was all the talking points I wanted to cover. Look, I liked parts of Impact this week, but they are not doing a good job of selling Lockdown right now. And if this is the kind of show that they think is going to compete with Raw, then they need to get their heads out of their asses and smarten up real damn fast. Either that, or they need to move back to Thursday. And if the rating sinks any lower, they may not have a choice on that one. See you later.